Before coming to Argentina, I thought I understood what justice looked like. As a criminal justice major and a political science minor, I spent years learning about the laws, the systems, and accountability. To me, justice was something structured. It was something defined. It was something you could study, analyze, and understand through textbooks. But I'm going to be honest. Before this trip, I had never really even heard about Argentina's history like that. I didn't know about the dictatorship. I didn't know about the disappeared. I didn't know about the depth of pain this country carries. And being here completely changed that. Argentina didn't just teach me history. It made me feel it. Truly feel it. And that feeling forced me to question everything I thought I knew about justice, about leadership, and about the role people play in creating change. From the moment I arrived in Buenos Aires, everything just felt different. The city is full of life. You hear it in the traffic, in the music playing in the streets, and in the way people talk and laugh and gather together. I experienced new foods, new routines, and a completely different pace of life than what I'm used to in the United States. People take their time here. They sit, they talk, they connect. And at first, it felt unfamiliar to me. But then it started to feel comforting. But what stood out to me the most wasn't just how beautiful the city was. It was about how deeply history is embedded into everyday life. In the US, history can sometimes feel distant, like something that happened a million years ago. Something that's separated from our daily lives. But in Argentina, it feels present. You see it everywhere. You see it in the murals on the walls. You hear it in conversations. You feel it in protest, in memorials, and even in the silence. It made me realize that Argentina doesn't separate from its past. It is their present. It is carried every single day through the lives of the Argentinians. One of the most powerful and emotional parts of this experience was learning about Argentina's military dictatorship and the thousands of people who were disappeared. And for me, this wasn't just learning something new. It was realizing how much I didn't know. Before coming here, I had never been taught about this in depth. And not that alone, it made me reflect on education, on awareness, and what stories get told and which ones don't. Visiting Parque de la Memoria changed everything for me. Seeing the names engraved, standing in a space built to honor those lives, it made everything feel real in a way that no textbook could ever. They were not just numbers. They were people. People with families, dreams, futures taken from them. And what impacted me even more was learning that many families still don't have answers. That their mothers, their grandmothers, and loved ones are still searching for them. That kind of pain doesn't just disappear. It stays. It becomes part of a country's identity. And it made me realize something important. Justice is not always immediate. Sometimes justice takes years. It takes decades. And sometimes it's still being fought for. What really stood out to me was how Argentina responds to that pain. Instead of forgetting, people organized. Movements like Las Madres de la Plaza de Mayo turned grief into resistance. Week after week, they showed up, standing in the same place, demanding answers, refusing to stay silent, refusing to let their children be forgotten. And their white scarves became something powerful, not just a symbol of loss, but a symbol of strength, resilience, and persistence. Even today, protest culture is still alive. You see it in the graffitis that say, you see it in the marches for women's rights, for justice, for accountability. And what I learned is that social movements are not just reactions to something. They are ongoing. They are continuous. They are a way of keeping the memory alive while pushing for change. In class, we talked about ideas like collective identity. And I didn't fully understand it until I saw it here. In Argentina, people don't just remember history individually. They remember it together. Symbols like the white scarf connects generations. They create a shared identity, a shared understanding, a shared responsibility. I also noticed something different about leadership. In the United States, we often focus on individual leaders. One person, one voice, one face. But here, leadership feels more collective. It is about people coming together, standing together, moving together. And that changed my perspective. Because it made me realize that real change doesn't always come from one powerful person. It comes from communities, from people who refuse to stay silent, from people who continue to show up, even when it's hard. And sometimes the strongest form of leadership is simply not giving up. Another thing that stood out to me was how culture and art are used as a form of expression and resistance. Music, murals, street art, they all tell stories. They give a voice to people who may not have been heard before. And it made me realize that pop culture is not just entertainment. It's powerful. It can educate, it can connect people, and it can inspire change. Sometimes a song or a piece of art can reach people in ways that politics or laws can't. And that emotional connection is what makes it so impactful. This experience changed me on a personal level. As a Latina woman studying criminal justice, it made me question what justice really looks like. Not just the theory, but in reality. It made me reflect on my own country, what we choose to acknowledge and what we choose to ignore. Because I realized how easy it is to stay in our own bubble. To only know what you've been taught. To not question the system because they feel normal. But being here pushed me out of that. It made me more aware, more emotional, more connected. And it also made me feel a responsibility. Not just to learn, but to carry these stories with me. To apply what I've learned in my future career. Because now I understand something I didn't before. Justice is not just about laws. It's about people. It's about memory. And it's about truth. And it's about making sure that what happened is never ignored. Argentina didn't just teach me about history or social movements. It taught me about resilience, about memory, and the importance of never forgetting. And it changed the way I see the world and the role I want to play in it. Because now I know something I didn't know before. Justice isn't something you study, something you feel, and it's something you question. And most importantly, it is something you fight for.